Ali Abdaal has made YouTube videos on imposter syndrome, but unfortunately, he got a few things wrong. He advises how to overcome imposter syndrome, but his tips don't work, or they could even make it worse. We're going to look at his 3 big tips and see what the mistake is. We'll explore the one piece of Ali Abdaal's advice that is spot on. Imposter syndrome is self-doubt and feeling like you're a fraud when you're not. It's a big deal because the stress affects your work, health, relationships, and happiness. I've been a specialist in eliminating imposter syndrome for over 7 years, written 2 best-selling books on it, and interviewed over 700 people about their imposter syndrome. And I'm going to share my best insights with you here. Imagine that you're ill in hospital with a bad infection. You're in pain, you can't think straight, you can't get comfortable, you can't seem to do anything about it. The doctor comes to your bedside and says, "We know what this is," and everyone has it, and then turns around and walks out. Has the illness gone away? No. Ali Abdaal's first tip is to tell you that everyone has imposter syndrome. Knowing that you're not alone helps a little, but it does not overcome imposter syndrome. The damaging subtext is that you just have to suffer through it. It suggests that there's nothing you can do about it, and so you might just give up looking for a solution. But imposter syndrome has a complete solution. Ali tells a couple of stories about his own experience. When he first made online course for YouTubers, or when he was first directing an amateur musical. He says this was uncomfortable because he was new to it and was not yet an expert. And this is the common myth that imposter syndrome is a beginner's issue, that if you practice and press on, then it will eventually go away. But this is not imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is when you're experienced, capable, competent, and yet at the same time you doubt yourself. For example, Meryl Streep has starred in over 75 movies and won more acting awards than anyone on the planet. And yet she wonders why anyone would come and see her acting whenever she films a new movie. That's imposter syndrome. The problem with Ali Abdaal suggesting that imposter syndrome only happens to beginners is that you think the solution is to get more skilled. And then when you get that skill and still feel like a fraud, you think you just need to work even harder to get rid of the imposter feelings. This turns into chronic overworking, exhaustion, and can lead to burnout. It makes imposter syndrome worse. Ali Abdaal's 3rd tip is to develop a growth mindset. Again, coming back to the idea that imposter syndrome happens when you're learning. People with fixed mindsets and growth mindsets experience imposter syndrome, just in different ways. A growth mindset drives imposter syndrome striving behaviors. That is, that if you're not feeling good enough, you will be continually striving to be better. Behaviors here are comparing, perfectionism, over-preparing, chasing unneeded qualifications, and just gritting your teeth and pushing through. And again, this leads to massive stress, exhaustion, and burnout. And in fact, imposter syndrome isn't a mindset issue at all. And lastly, what did Ali Abdaal get right? He talked about imposter syndrome being a spotlight effect, that you think everyone's looking at you and judging you. Well, it's not that either. But as a solution, he suggests separating yourself from your role. That means separating your worth from your actions. And this is how you eliminate imposter syndrome for good. But that's not quite enough. Changing your thinking does not do this well enough to actually get rid of imposter syndrome. To change this pattern, see this next video talking about the root cause of imposter syndrome and how you can change it.